teller is a good guy, I think. Larry Pearlman has been a professional teller in North Carolina since 2018, and he served as president of the Asheville Storytelling Circle for 2 years.
Yeah.
He's been an author, a public speaker, a workshop facilitator, an actor, a radio show host, a director of field training for an international company, a minister, and get this, he joined the Peace Corps at age 60. Oh, the hell with it. Larry just can't keep a job. Frankly, my favorite thing about storytelling is the kind and wonderful people I've met over the years. And tonight, Larry is going to share what happened to him when he found universal trust. So folks, I want you to welcome a dear, dear friend and one hell of a good guy, Larry Pearlman.
Thank you, Chuck. Boy, I can hardly wait to hear what I have to say. How many people in here are familiar with Wayne Dyer?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Almost everybody. Terrific. He's one of my favorite authors. I consider him a spiritual mentor. I love Wayne Dyer. Well, Wayne Dyer says, you have one decision to make that's the most important decision you will ever make because it will impact your entire life. And that decision is, what kind of a universe do you think you live in? Do you think you exist in a universe that is friendly and supportive? Or do you think you live in a universe that's dangerous and hostile? Well, I chose the supportive side. And the story I want to tell you tonight is about how that's worked out in my life, at least in one area. But before I tell you my story, I want to tell you a fictional tale of a man, a religious man, who lived in a small town. And there was a flood in this town. We know a little bit about that, right? There was a flood in this town. And when the water started lapping over the threshold into the first floor, the National Guard was determined that they were going to do everything they could to evacuate everybody to safety. So the truck came down his street, and the guy waved at him, and he said, "Come on, get in the truck. We'll get you out of here." And the man said, "Thank you, but I'm fine. The Lord will save me." So they took off. Well, the water filled up the first floor, and he was on the second floor, looks out a window, and he sees a National Guard boat. And they say, "Come on, you're lucky we came by. Get in the boat, we'll get you up to high ground." He says, "Thank you, but I'm fine. The Lord will save me." And then the water filled up the house. Now the man's sitting on his roof. National Guard helicopter comes along, drops down a rope ladder, says, "Hey buddy, come on, grab the ladder. You're lucky we're just flying through here. Come on, we'll take you over to a safe place." He said, "Thank you, but I'm fine. The Lord will save me." The man drowned. When he went to heaven, he went to God, and he said, "I don't understand. I have served you faithfully my whole life. I knew you would save me. Why did you forsake me?" And God said, "I didn't forsake you. I sent you a truck, a boat, and a helicopter." Now, my story is not nearly as dramatic as that, so you don't have to get ready for a life-changing story in one way. But I would like to tell you about my story that involved David, Lee, and Todd, who you might call my truck, my boat, and my helicopter. In the summer of 2017, I moved to Black Mountain, North Carolina. I didn't know anybody in Black Mountain, North Carolina. I had never been to Black Mountain. I did not know one thing about Black Mountain. And when I tell people that, they say, "So why did you move there?" Good question, right? Well, I'll tell you, that was 8 years ago. Today, I could write promotional pamphlets about Black Mountain. I mean, the first thing is the mountains, right? You're in Black Mountain, you look around, there are mountain ranges all over the place. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, it uplifts my heart just to look at the mountains and the trees. And the other thing that uplifts my heart in Black Mountain is the people. They're warm, they're loving, they're generous, I love the people of Black Mountain. I love the feel of Black Mountain. I mean, you stop at a light, it turns green, but you happen to be looking down at your phone or whatever. Nobody honks the horn. I'm a New Jersey guy. That's a miracle. That is an absolute miracle. I couldn't believe it. I'll tell you, I was there for 6 months. I called my best friend Phyllis in New Jersey. I said, Phyllis, I've been in this town for 6 months. Today, I heard the first car horn, right? So I love that about Black Mountain. And then there's that feel comes through the community events. I mean, there's the Wednesday Love Corner. What town has a love corner? And then there's the Sourwood Festival. How many people have been to the Sourwood Festival? Okay, great. There's Holly Jolly, right? There's the Christmas parade. There's the 4th of July parade and fireworks. My favorite parade, the Halloween pet parade. You can follow the dogs. You know. They're just such fabulous events. And the quaintness of Black Mountain. Okay, how many of you have shopped at Town Hardware and General Store? Great. For those of you who haven't, you're missing something. Go to Black Mountain, go to Town Hardware. I got there and I was looking for all sorts. And I went to all the grocery stores. I went all to the CVS, all the drugstores. Nobody carried all sorts. I walked into Town Hardware. There they were. For those who don't know what all sorts are, see me after the show. I'll tell you about it. And if you want to buy them, you can get them at Town Hardware. And then, well, yeah, there's so much about, I mean, I haven't even mentioned the Blue Ridge Parkway. How many have driven on the Blue Ridge during leaf season? Splendiferous. And I don't even know if that's a word, but it is just astounding. I love it. Hiking. I'm a hiker. I moved to Black Mountain. There are so many different trails in and around Black Mountain. And you go, I tell my friends in Jersey, you go hiking in this part of North Carolina and throw a rock, you will hit a waterfall. And they're beautiful waterfalls, right? And there's so many different kinds. It's amazing. And speaking of water, I live around the corner from Lake Tomahawk. If I'm having a bad day, if my girlfriend's stressing me out, if I'm pet sitting for some iguana that's starving for crickets, I just go walk around Lake Tomahawk. It is so serene. Everybody greets you. Every dog stops to get a little pet on the head. I mean, it's wonderful. So, as you could probably tell, I am now in love with Black Mountain. But all that stuff is stuff I found out after I moved there. So the question remains hanging in the air. Why did you move there? Following a 4.5-year global walkabout, which is a great story in itself, but for another time, the only thing that came to me by listening to Spirit was it's time to settle down and you should go to Asheville. I'd never been to Asheville. Didn't know anybody in Asheville. My left brain said, why would you do that? But I had learned by this time in my life, you live in a supportive universe. Follow Spirit. And I did know Dave and Sue. Now, Dave and Sue, I knew lived in Weaverville, and they had told me that Weaverville was basically by Asheville. So I called them, and they said, sure, come on up, stay with us a couple days, check it out. I drove down to downtown Asheville. I got out of the car, I walked around for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I found a lot to like about Asheville. What I didn't find was a click. And that click is what I had learned in my life to listen to. It was when my friendly, supportive universe was telling me, this is right for you. No click. So I expanded my horizons, and I did the click test in Arden, in Hot Springs, in Weaverville, went down to Waynesville, I went to Hendersonville, I went to all the towns around Asheville. And what I found was, wonderful place to live every single time. This would be a great place to live, but no click. Then I drove east and I got to Black Mountain and I saw the visitor center and I said, what a good place to start, right? Pulled into the visitor center parking lot, didn't even get out of the car, click. And I said, this is it. This is the town I'm supposed to live in. Still didn't know anything about it. Okay, now I found the town. Well, now I had to find a place to actually live. And everybody I talked to said, yeah, good luck with that, pal. This was 8 years ago. They said, renting or buying, you're not going to find any place in Black Mountain. Places go off the market before they go on the market. So my friends David and Sue said to me, why don't you move in with us? You can stay for 6 months because that's how long it's going to take you to find a place in Black Mountain. I found the perfect place in 1 day. And the truck that the universe sent me was David. Because he said to me, first night I was there, he said, look, I know you signed up with 2 realtors in Black Mountain. Have you looked at Craigslist? I said, Craigslist? Isn't that where you buy tools? I mean, who looks for a house on Craigslist? He said, just check it out. He sent me the link. I found a leasing agent. I called him up. Richard said, come by tomorrow, I'll show you some places. I said, okay. I go by, first place we walked in, click. Right? I said, this is it. I rented it on the spot. I said, give me the paperwork. Boom, filled it out, rented it. I am now standing in my new living room. Wow. Oh, I love the smell of this place. I love the sight of this place. I love the feel of this place. This is wonderful. And then reality set in. I said to myself, I'm standing in this empty house and I own 0 furniture. Now, based on what I've told you so far, do you think that what I did was sit down and plan out how I was going to do this? No. What did I do? Trust the universe, right? So I didn't even give it a thought. Tomorrow, the next day was Sunday. I got up. I had found out there was a Unitarian Universalist church walking distance from this new house. I walked over. I got there. I introduced myself. I said, hi, just moved here, just moved into a house. I don't have any furniture, but I'm happy to be here. And after the service, Tina came up to me and she said, I have a card table and a folding chair. You could start with that until, I'll lend it to you until you get some stuff. I said, great. She was wrong. That was not a card table and a folding chair. That was my office and my dining room. But I said, hey, this is a start, right? Well, the next day, it was Monday, I walked downtown. I went to a furniture store in Black Mountain. I found a bed because I figured I can get everything else used, but a bed, let's go with new. So I went in there, I found a bed I liked. It was on sale. And this very nice lady came over to me and she said, if I will give you $100 off the sale price, if you'd take it today, because we're getting all kinds of new furniture in tomorrow and I need the floor space. Oh, gee, twist my arm. They delivered it, set it up that day. Now I figured, well, I got to have something in the living room, right? Chair, couch. So I drove down to Hendersonville. I went to Goodwill. I found the perfect chair and couch. They almost matched. It was close. They helped me load the chair into my Subaru. They helped me tie the couch on top of my Subaru. And off I went. But as I started to drive home, something, that friendly universe thing again, whispered in my ear and said, why don't you stop at Ace Hardware and buy a tarp? Okay. I buy a tarp, I tie it over the couch. I start home. Halfway home, it starts raining. If I didn't have that tarp, my brand new used couch would have been ruined. Now I get home. I have no idea how I'm going to get this chair and this couch out of my car, up the 21 steps to my house, and in. Do you think I stopped to think about how this is going to work? No. What did I do? Trust the universe. I said, I heard music that was coming from around the corner of Lake Tomahawk. Turned out they had a free concert that night. I said, the universe will figure this out. I'm just going to leave it there. I go to the concert, fabulous concert. I get done, I'm walking home, and I see these 2 young men, 16, 17, 18 years old roughly, coming back from the tennis courts. They look a lot younger and a lot stronger than I am. I said, hey, you guys want to make 20 bucks? They were thrilled. They came back to my house, they got the chair, they got the couch, they took it up the 21 steps, threw it in there. All I had to do was watch. And now I had a living room. Now I read in the same Craigslist thing that David sent me about this desk. remember the desk? I told you, look at this desk. This desk, it was it was exactly the kind of desk I wanted. This woman lived in a trailer, but she had a huge yard, and in the South 40 was a shed, way back. And she took me back to show me it was her husband, her late husband's, he had died recently, desk. I said, it's perfect, I'll take it. I said, I'll just back my Subaru up to the shed and I'll wiggle the thing, I'll get it in there somehow. And she said, not a great idea. That's a leach field. She said, your Subaru is going to sink up to the axles. She said, it might go deeper than that. I said, okay, plan B. This grandmother was not going to be strong enough to help me carry that heavy desk 100 yards from that shed to my car. She said, let me call my daughter. So she calls her daughter, who drops everything at work, comes back, and she helps me carry this desk 100 yards, gets it into my Subaru. Now, of course, I have no idea how I'm going to get it out of the Subaru, up the 21 steps, around 2 corners, and into the office. Did I worry about that? No. What did I do? Trust the universe. So I get home, I park the car, I get out of it. I'm not even thinking about how to do this. And my 2 doors down is Lee. Lee was my boat that the universe sent me. Lee comes down. He says, hi, neighbor. I see you just moved in. Chit chat, talk for a while. When we get done, he says, if I can ever do anything for you, let me know. Funny you should mention that, Lee. So we carry the desk out of the car, up the 21 steps, around the 2 bends, into the office. And then he says to me, really glad I could help you. Don't ever ask me to do that again. Okay. Well, now I got the beginnings of an office. I got the beginnings of a living room. I got the beginnings of my bed. I could give Tina her table back. All I need now is everything else, right? Well, I go back down to Hendersonville. This time I go to Habitat for Humanity Restore, right? You guys know about the Restore, right? If you don't, check it out. Fabulous. So I go to Restore. I find an oak table for my kitchen with chairs. I find 4 folding chairs. I find 2 dressers for the bedroom, one with a full-length mirror, horizontal type mirror. I find 2 end tables for the bed. I find a headboard. And there was something else. Escapes my mind right now. Anyway, found everything I needed. Problem, of course, was I can't fit all this in my Subaru. Right? So I asked them, look, if I pay you for this, can you hold it for me until I figure out a way to do this? And they say, we can hold it for a week. That's it. I said, okay. Now, I get back in the car and drive home. Do I lay out a plan for how I'm going to do this? No. What do? Trust the universe. I go home. It's 4th of July the next day. I don't even think about my furniture in Hendersonville. I say, I'm going down to town square, going to enjoy the fireworks. I lay my blanket out. There's this nice young family next to me at chit chat. Todd was my helicopter. Todd is a fireman. He's off this week. He owns a trailer. He says to me, I don't ask anybody for any of this, but he says to me, hey, I'll follow you down to Hendersonville tomorrow. We'll fill up my trailer with all your stuff, bring it back. I'll help you get in the house. Now, I could go on and on like this, telling you about how the universe helped me with this move. How the universe, for instance, introduced me to Matt, who got me acting at the Black Mountain Center for the Arts. Did I mention the Black Mountain Center for the Arts? That's the other thing I couldn't believe about this little 7,500 people town, the entertainment. I mean, the Black Mountain Center for the Arts and Whitehorse Black Mountain, just those 2. And there are like other venues in Black Mountain, have amazing quality entertainment. And speaking of quality, the restaurants. You people in Asheville think you got the restaurants. No, I got there and I read the promotional material that was available at the time from Black Mountain. 42, this is a town of 7,500 people, 42 unique independent restaurants in Black Mountain. No chains. Well, there was a couple of chains out by 40, but not in town, and they weren't on the list. I've been eating my way through Black Mountain now for 8 years, and I can't believe the quality of the restaurants in this one little town. But enough promotion. Anyway, I could tell you the story about how Connie I think it was the second week I was in Black Mountain. There was this thing in Black Mountain Center for the Arts. This storyteller is coming, Connie. I said, I didn't know there was such a thing as storytellers. I said, I'm going to go see Connie. I went to see Connie and I said, I want to do that. And that universe bringing me to Black Mountain Center for the Arts to see Connie has morphed into me standing here tonight as a storyteller. And I can tell you, I have realized over my life that my life is a lot smoother with a whole lot less stress if I just trust the universe. And I suggest that for everybody here tonight. Thank you.
And folks, that was Larry Pearlman, the future mayor of Black Mountain. And I also got a note from the Chamber of Commerce. Way to go, Larry. Oh, this is fun.